Something has felt slightly suspended these past few days, as though ordinary life is holding its breath before exhaling into something new. The lunar eclipse arriving on March 3rd is not a gentle nudge. Dr. Hallie Sharp, an astrologer and spiritual researcher who has spent decades mapping the relationship between celestial events and human experience, calls this one a threshold that arrives fully formed. There is also a particular reason why only certain people feel the full weight of an eclipse, while others barely notice it passing. And the answer has nothing to do with how aware or spiritually prepared they are. If calm, meaning-filled evenings are what you come here for, you're exactly where you belong. What this eclipse is asking of you tonight may already be closer to the surface than you think. Why this eclipse arrives only once in years. An eclipse is categorically different from a full moon, and the difference is worth understanding before anything else. A full moon completes a cycle. An eclipse interrupts one. Where a full moon invites gradual culmination, feelings arriving at their natural peak over days, an eclipse compresses that entire process into hours, sometimes minutes. It is as though someone turned up the speed of an already moving current, and whatever was drifting slowly toward resolution is suddenly, without warning, arriving all at once. Dr. Hallie Sharp describes this as the difference between a tide and a wave, both made of the same water, but experienced entirely differently. What makes this particular eclipse rare is a convergence of factors that don't often align within the same window. The eclipse falls at a degree that connects directly to the positions held during several other significant celestial events of recent years, which, in human terms, means that what this eclipse is completing has roots that go back further than most people will immediately recognize. It is not resolving something that began last month. For many people, it is resolving something that began years ago and has been quietly working its way toward this specific moment of clarification. The behavior people report in the 24 to 48 hours before an eclipse of this magnitude is consistent and specific. A heightened sense of anticipation without a clear object, a feeling of standing at the edge of something without being able to see what is on the other side, unusual restlessness in the evenings, a quality of heightened perceptiveness, noticing things in conversations and environments that would ordinarily pass unregistered. These are not symptoms of anxiety. They are the interior signals of a system that knows, below the level of conscious awareness, that something significant is about to land. The 24 hours that quietly reorganize everything. The window directly surrounding a lunar eclipse, particularly the 24 hours on either side of its peak, operates as its own contained energetic environment, different in quality from the days before and after in a way that is subtle but real. Time feels slightly altered during this window. Decisions that seemed impossible become suddenly obvious. Emotions that were suspended in a holding pattern finally touch down. The interior life, which normally moves at the pace of ordinary living, briefly accelerates to match something larger than itself. And in that acceleration, things that took years to build can shift in an afternoon. This quality of compression is one of the eclipse's most practically significant effects. Therapists and brief counselors who track their clients' experiences around eclipse dates have noted, informally, that breakthroughs which might have required months of gradual work sometimes arrive fully formed during these windows. A realization completes itself. A grief finally finds its floor. A decision that required a certain quality of readiness discovers that the readiness has, without announcement, arrived. The eclipse does not manufacture these completions. It provides the energetic conditions under which completions that were already approaching find their landing place. What is worth understanding about this 24-hour window is that it does not require active participation to be effective. People who spend the eclipse in ordinary activity, cooking dinner, sitting with family, reading before sleep, often report the next morning that something has shifted that they cannot entirely account for. A relationship feels clearer. A worry that was consuming has lost its grip. A quality of knowing has arrived that was not present the night before. The eclipse works whether or not a person is consciously watching it, which is in itself one of its more quietly remarkable qualities. 3 things eclipse researchers consistently note that rarely make it into popular summaries. First, the eclipse's effects tend to be felt most strongly not at the moment of peak darkness, but in the quiet hour that follows. Second, people who journal during eclipse windows frequently report writing things they didn't know they knew. Third, animals, particularly household pets, often become unusually still or attentive in the hours surrounding an eclipse's peak, as though they are registering something the human nervous system receives but cannot always name. What an eclipse does that a full moon cannot. A full moon illuminates. An eclipse transforms. This distinction sounds simple, but its implications run deep. Illumination shows you what is already there. The full moon reveals what has been building, makes the existing emotional landscape more visible, brings the near complete to its natural edge. Transformation does something more fundamental. It alters the structure of what it touches, not just its visibility. An eclipse doesn't simply show you where you are. It changes the ground beneath the place where you are standing, so that returning to exactly that spot becomes quietly and permanently impossible. Dr. Hallie Sharp has written about this distinction with particular care, noting that the confusion between full moons and eclipses leads many people to underestimate what an eclipse is actually doing. They approach it with the same reflective observational posture they bring to a full moon, and then find themselves surprised by the depth and durability of what shifts. An eclipse is not an amplified full moon. It is a different instrument entirely, playing a different kind of music. One invites you to see more clearly. The other invites you to become something you were not quite before it arrived. The specific mechanism that makes eclipses transformative rather than merely revelatory has to do with the alignment of the sun, moon, and earth during totality. The light that ordinarily mediates between the sun's outward conscious energy and the moon's inward emotional energy is briefly interrupted, creating a gap in the usual dynamic that allows something to move that ordinarily cannot. Ancient cultures across the world recognize this gap as sacred precisely because of its rarity. They understood in their own language what modern researchers are beginning to describe in theirs, that the eclipse creates a genuine opening, and openings, by their nature, allow passage in both directions. As we go deeper into this video, there is one specific kind of change that this eclipse catalyzes that almost no one anticipates, and it tends to arrive not through drama, but through a quiet shift in what a person finds they can no longer pretend not to know. The decision that has been waiting for this gate. There are decisions that live in a person for years without being made, not from weakness or indecision, but because the readiness required to make them hasn't yet fully assembled itself. A choice that would require giving something up before knowing what would arrive in its place. A direction that would require genuine trust in an outcome that cannot be guaranteed in advance. These decisions tend to sit in the interior, patiently accumulating the necessary conditions. And then, during windows of ecliptic intensity, those conditions suddenly complete themselves all at once, and the decision that seemed impossible becomes almost without transition, obvious. What eclipse energy provides to these long-waiting decisions is a quality that might best be described as permission. Not permission from outside, from a person or a circumstance, but an interior permission that comes from the felt sense that the timing has finally arrived. People describe this experience as distinct from ordinary decision-making. It doesn't feel like choosing between options. It feels like recognizing which option was always true, and finally having the interior ground to stand on while acknowledging it. The decision doesn't feel made so much as it feels discovered, already complete, waiting to be spoken aloud. The decisions that tend to surface during eclipse gateways are not the practical, logistical kind. Those can be made in ordinary time. The ones that arrive now are the ones with roots in identity and meaning, whether to continue in a relationship that has been slowly concluding, whether to pursue a direction that feels genuinely right but requires courage, whether to stop maintaining something, an image, a habit, a way of describing oneself that no longer fits the person who now occupies the life it belongs to. These are the decisions the eclipse was always asking about. And in the 24 hours of its gateway, many people find that the answer has already arrived. What gets permanently left behind after tonight? Eclipses are known across many spiritual traditions as events that mark a before and an after. And what separates the before from the after is not always something dramatic. Sometimes it is a belief that quietly stops being operative, a story about oneself that, having been seen clearly during the eclipse window, simply loses its ability to function as though it were true. The person wakes up on the other side of the eclipse and notices that something they used to do automatically, a defensive response, a habitual worry, a particular way of diminishing themselves, no longer arrives with its usual momentum. Dr. Hallie Sharp describes this aspect of eclipse energy as selective permanence. Not everything shifts during an eclipse, and not everything that shifts stays shifted. But certain changes, particularly those involving how a person understands their own worth or their relationship to a long-held fear, tend to be remarkably durable. This durability is connected to the depth at which the shift occurs. Surface-level changes require maintenance. Changes that happen at the level of self-perception tend to persist because they alter the lens through which everything else is seen, and you cannot unsee through a lens that has genuinely changed. The most common thing people report leaving behind after a significant eclipse is a particular flavor of self-doubt. The specific variety that has been attached to a specific area of their life for a specific, traceable reason. Not old doubt, not the healthy, questioning kind, but the variety that was installed by an old experience and has been running on autopilot ever since, applying itself to situations the original experience never anticipated. When that variety of doubt lifts, as it tends to during eclipse windows, people describe the experience as noticing a low hum that had been so constant they'd stopped hearing it. Suddenly, without fanfare, going quiet. The sign your life is already shifting direction. The shift that an eclipse initiates rarely announces itself loudly. It tends to arrive through small signals that, taken individually, seem unremarkable. A conversation veers unexpectedly into territory that turns out to be exactly what you needed. An opportunity presents itself through a channel you weren't monitoring. A person from your past makes contact in a way that, upon reflection, opens something that had been closed. These are not coincidences in the ordinary sense. They are the early expressions of a directional change that the eclipse has already set in motion, becoming visible through the specific circumstances most relevant to the individual experiencing it. One of the subtler signals that a life is already shifting direction is a change in what a person finds themselves drawn toward in their quieter moments. The books they reach for change. The conversations they find satisfying change. The way they spend a solitary hour shifts in a direction that, if they were paying attention, points clearly toward where the next chapter of their life is preparing to begin. Miss G. Amaro, whose work intersects closely with Dr. Sharp's in this area, has noted that this shift in attraction, subtle, persistent, preceding any external change, is one of the most reliable early signals of genuine directional movement. The behavior shift most commonly associated with this sign is a gradual decrease in the energy available for things that no longer align with the incoming direction. Activities that were previously neutral begin to feel slightly effortful. Commitments that were made from an older version of the self begin to chafe quietly against the person the eclipse is helping them become. This decrease in available energy is not depletion, it is reallocation. The interior economy is quietly redirecting its resources toward the new direction before the conscious mind has fully registered that a direction change is underway. Take one slow breath right now and let yourself consider, without urgency, one area of your life where something feels slightly misaligned. Not broken, just slightly out of true with who you are becoming. The eclipse does not require you to fix it tonight. It simply asks you to be honest enough for one quiet moment to notice it is there. Why this gateway feels heavier than expected. People who were anticipating this eclipse with excitement sometimes arrive at the gateway feeling something unexpected. Not the lightness of an opening, but a weight, a gravity, a quality of seriousness that feels disproportionate to anything specific happening in their external life. This heaviness is not a warning sign. It is a sensory experience of the eclipse doing its actual work. Genuine transformation is not light. It has mass. And the weight people feel in the hours surrounding this eclipse is the felt experience of something real, changing at a level deeper than the surface of daily life. The reason this eclipse feels heavier than others is connected to its position in a longer cycle. Without going into technical detail, this eclipse falls at a point that marks the culmination of a pattern that has been building for several years across the collective experience of many people simultaneously. This means that the weight being felt is not only personal, it is also, to some degree, shared. People who are sensitive to collective energy describe this eclipse as carrying not just their own accumulated unfinished business, but something of the broader moment the world is navigating. That additional weight is real, even if its source is larger than the individual carrying it. The most useful response to this heaviness is one that runs counter to the usual impulse, which is to push through, to override, to keep moving. The eclipse's weight is not an obstacle to navigate around. It is the substance of the work itself. People who allow themselves to slow down during this gateway, to sit with the gravity rather than resist it, tend to report that the heaviness contains something valuable, a depth of feeling, a quality of seriousness about their own life, a renewed sense of what actually matters, that the usual pace of living rarely allows them to access. What closes tonight, so something else can begin. There is a law in nature that applies to interior life as reliably as it applies to the physical world. A space cannot be filled until it has been emptied, and a door cannot open in a wall that has no opening. Every beginning requires a corresponding ending, not as punishment, but as the simple geometry of change. The lunar eclipse of March 3rd is, among its other qualities, a closing event, something that has been occupying space in a person's life, in their attention, their emotional energy, their interior landscape, is preparing to complete its tenure and release the space it has held. What tends to close during an eclipse is not always what a person would have chosen to release. The eclipse is not consulting preferences, it is responding to readiness. And the things that are most ready to close are often the things that have been quietly concluding for some time already, without the person having fully acknowledged the conclusion. A hope that has been maintained past its genuine expiry, a version of the relationship that both people have already outgrown, but neither has formally acknowledged outgrowing, a self-description that was accurate once and has been maintained by inertia long after it stopped fitting. The emotion eclipse energy pulls from deepest first. If you were to observe what emotions surface most consistently in the hours surrounding a significant lunar eclipse, you might expect intensity, grief, fear, heightened anxiety. What actually tends to surface first is something quieter and in many ways more fundamental. A pervading sense of longing, not longing for something specific, but a quality of reaching toward meaning, toward genuine connection, toward a version of one's own life that feels more completely inhabited than the current one. This longing is not a symptom of dissatisfaction. It is a compass. It is the interior indicating, through feeling rather than thought, the direction in which genuine fullness lies. The reason eclipse energy pulls longing to the surface before other emotions is connected to the eclipse's function as a truth revealer. Longing is one of the most honest emotions available to a person. It is difficult to manufacture and impossible to sustain artificially. When a person genuinely longs for something, that longing is carrying reliable information about what the self actually values, beneath the layers of accommodation and compromise that ordinary life requires. The eclipse creates conditions in which that information becomes temporarily louder than the accommodations. And in that window, a person can hear, perhaps more clearly than at any other time, what they are actually reaching toward. What most people misread as anxiety right now. In the days surrounding this eclipse, there is a feeling circulating through many people that is being widely interpreted as anxiety. And the misidentification is worth correcting, because what a person believes they are feeling shapes how they respond to it. True anxiety is future-oriented. It projects threat forward, constructs worst-case scenarios, generates the physiological response appropriate to danger. What most people are actually feeling in the eclipse window is something different in its orientation. It is not projecting forward. It is pressing upward, old material rising to the surface, seeking the light of conscious acknowledgement rather than the warmth of resolution. The sensation these two states share is the physical one, the chest tightness, the restlessness, the difficulty settling into ordinary calm. But their character is entirely different once examined. The eclipse-related sensation tends to soften when a person turns toward it rather than away from it, when they sit with it, breathe into it, give it a moment of genuine attention. True anxiety tends to escalate when approached directly without specific tools or support. This difference in response to direct attention is one of the most reliable ways to distinguish between the two, and knowing the difference changes everything about how a person moves through the eclipse window. Dr. Hallie Sharp has noted that the misreading of eclipse energy as anxiety leads many people to manage an experience that would be better received. They reach for distraction, for busyness, for the various strategies that work well for genuine anxiety, and find that none of them quite land. The feeling persists not because it is pathological, but because it is purposeful. It is the interior saying, through the only language available to it in that moment, that something real is happening, and it would benefit from a little of the person's patient, unhurried attention, rather than their management. The part of you ready, before your mind is. There is always a part of a person that is further along than the thinking mind knows, a deeper layer of the self that has already processed what the conscious mind is still deliberating. This layer communicates not through reasoning, but through readiness, through a quality of ease that arrives around certain choices, a quality of resistance that arrives around others, a felt sense of rightness or wrongness that precedes any logical analysis of the situation. During an eclipse of this magnitude, the gap between where this deeper layer is and where the conscious mind believes it is tends to become briefly, usefully visible. People encounter this gap most often as a surprise at their own reaction. They expect to feel uncertain about a change and find instead that they feel relief. They expect to grieve a closing and discover they feel more light than heavy. They approach a conversation they anticipated dreading and find that the words arrive easily, as though the conversation had already been rehearsed somewhere they weren't consciously present for. These surprises are the conscious mind discovering what the deeper layer of the self already knew, that the readiness it was waiting to feel had quietly assembled itself without announcing its completion. The eclipse creates conditions in which this discovery happens more frequently and more vividly than in ordinary time, which is why so many people describe eclipse windows as clarifying in a way that feels slightly out of their control. They didn't decide to be ready. They simply discovered that they were. And that discovery, that the self has been doing its quiet work even in the absence of conscious effort, tends to produce a particular quality of trust in one's own interior process that is one of the eclipse's more lasting and underappreciated gifts. What remains after the eclipse shadow passes through? When the shadow of an eclipse lifts, it does not leave things as it found them. It leaves them sorted, not resolved in every case, not perfected, not free of complexity, but sorted in the sense that what belongs to the current chapter and what belongs to a chapter that has concluded become, with unusual clarity, distinguishable from each other. People describe emerging from the significant eclipse with a quality of interior organization that wasn't present before, as though a room that was previously cluttered has been quietly, thoroughly arranged while they were sleeping. What remains most durably after an eclipse of this power is a shift in the standard a person holds for their own experience. Having felt, briefly, what it is like to see their life with genuine clarity, without the softening of habitual narrative or the distortion of accumulated assumption, they carry the memory of that clarity forward. It becomes a reference point, a felt sense of what it is like when the interior is actually honest about what it knows. And in subsequent moments of confusion or deliberation, that reference point offers a quiet standard of comparison. Does this feel like clarity, or does it feel like something else? Dr. Hallie Sharp ends her writings on eclipse cycles with a thought that is worth holding as this one passes. The eclipse is not an event that happens to you. It is an event that happens through you. Using the specific material of your life, your history, your readiness to complete something that could only be completed through the unique combination of circumstances that is you. What remains after it passes is not just the residue of a celestial event. It is evidence of your own capacity to be moved, rearranged, and returned to yourself in a form that is quietly and unmistakably more fully your own. The shadow will pass. The moon will return to its ordinary light, and March will continue its gradual lean toward spring. The eclipse of March 3rd will become a date on a calendar, then a memory, then something a person references only when they are trying to explain to someone else why a particular period of their life felt like a turning point. But what the eclipse leaves behind does not follow the same timeline as the eclipse itself. The reorganization it initiates continues quietly in the weeks that follow, settling into the decisions made, the words finally spoken, the things finally released, and the new directions finally acknowledged. It does its deepest work, not during its hours of visibility, but in the ordinary days that follow, when a person discovers, in small and specific ways, that they are navigating their life from a slightly different place than the one they occupied before. There is no rush tonight. The gateway is open, and it will remain open long enough for whatever needs to pass through it. You don't need to force anything, or accelerate anything, or make anything happen before you are ready. The eclipse has been moving toward this moment for years, and it is patient enough and precise enough to find exactly what in you is ready to meet it. Rest well. Something is already, gently, in motion.